run right and everything is cleaned perfectly. While this company is loved by a lot of people, it has definitely had some pushback over the years. A couple years ago, when they opened a store in Denton next to Dallas, the whole entire community started an uprising against Buc-ee's. Their biggest issue is that they didn't want them to open it right in the city.
Why? Why did you pick this up?
And the thing about a place like Buc-ee's is it would survive perfectly fine in more rural areas on the side of an interstate or a freeway. But the problem is they have to staff this operation. That includes hundreds of employees working there at any given time. Those are numbers that you're not going to be able to feasibly manage out in the middle of nowhere. You have to be in a more concentrated area, usually next to a city where there's a bigger population, especially of high school and college students.
If I'm hiring 150 or 200 employees, you have to have a substantial population base.
While the Titanic is disappearing at an alarming rate. Scientists are estimating that it will be completely gone within 20 years, and this is due to it being eaten away by bacteria and other marine life. New footage shows the captain's bathtub, a favorite image among Titanic enthusiasts. It's almost completely dissolved at this point. The Titanic currently resides about 2 miles below the North Atlantic, and while there have been many schemes proposed to raise the Titanic, with its current condition, there's just no way that can happen without severe damage. Not to mention, letting the ship rest and disappear in peace is probably the more ethical thing to do. The Titanic is disappearing.
Mr. Bobby Land.
In the UK, there is an abandoned theme park called Dunblobin.
Visit Mr. Blobby's
Dunblobin was originally made for little kids, but now it's completely taken over by nature. This abandoned park was one of many parks created by Noel Edmond and his fictional character, Mr. Blobby. Back in the 90s, Noel had a very popular TV show called Noel's House Party. It got so popular that Mr. Blobby, the main character, got its own set of theme parks. After about a decade, the parks went bankrupt. One was converted into a hotel, most were leveled and the land was sold, but for some reason, they decided to leave Dunblobin intact. People say the park is now haunted, and ghost hunters gather there in hopes to see something supernatural. But in my opinion, the creepiest part of this story isn't the abandoned park. It's Mr. Blobby. In 1950, Whataburger opened its first location in Corpus Christi, Texas. But what most people don't know is that around the same time, 1,200 miles across the country, another Whataburger was selling its first burger. Both Whataburger and Whataburger sold burgers for the next 20 years before they discovered each other. Once they learned of each other's existence, the two restaurants discussed merging into one company, but eventually decided to peacefully coexist. While one of these restaurants clearly outshined the other, the Virginia-based Whataburger is still in operation today. I think it'd be really cool if someone did a blind taste test of the two. In 1950, Whataburger In 1998, a salvage company called RMS Inc. raised a 20-ton section of the Titanic out of the North Atlantic. Now, this section is known as the Big Piece and was originally part of the starboard side of the Titanic, and it broke off when the ship hit the iceberg over 100 years ago. RMS Inc. received a lot of backlash for raising the piece. Relatives of Titanic victims say the company was tampering with a gravesite. This didn't stop RMS from going on to raise more than 5,000 artifacts from the wreckage. What do you think? Was RMS out of line for this, or is this type of preservation worth it? In 1998, this is Mr. Blobby. And believe it or not, this terrifying creature was once a beloved and very popular children's character in the UK. Mr. Blobby is as popular in the UK as Barney is in America. He was originally featured on a TV show called Noel's House Party in the early 90s. Mr. Blobby's popularity grew so much that they opened an entire fleet of children's theme parks in his name. All of the parks went bankrupt after about 10 years, and they're now considered haunted. Now, I don't usually believe in places being haunted, but if this thing created a theme park, then it has to be haunted. There is a secret side of Disney World the company doesn't want you to see. If you look at a map of the park, there's a little green spot in the middle of Bay Lake. Now, there's no description of what it is, and it's completely off limits to everyone, including employees. Around 20 years ago, this mysterious island was actually another Disney park called Discovery Island. You'd take a boat from shore, arrive at the island, and basically look at exotic birds. Fast forward to 1999, Animal Kingdom opens, and it's basically a bigger and easier to get to version of Discovery Island. This sparked the very quick decline of the island. Today, it's abandoned and in ruins, completely overrun by nature. It's also heavily guarded. If you're anywhere near Bay Lake, you can be assured that you're being watched. It makes you wonder if there's more to this island than Disney is letting on. There is a secret about Disneyland the company doesn't want you to know. If you rode the Pirates of the Caribbean ride back in the 1960s, you would be impressed with how realistic the skeletons looked. That's because when this ride opened at Disneyland, all of the skeletons on the attraction were actual human bones. Now, they tried to install fake skeletons, but Walt Disney thought they looked too fake. So instead, they worked with the medical center at UCLA to get their hands on the real thing. Today, Disneyland says that there are no longer any human remains on the ride, but some people are unconvinced. The bed chamber skull seems to have the most speculation around it. Insiders confirmed that it was in fact real, and others have said that this skull, in particular, was donated by a former employee. This 110-year-old ship was just found near Antarctica, and it's one of the world's most well-preserved vessels to date. It belonged to explorer Ernest Shackleton, who got the ship stuck in the Weddell Sea's thick ice. Everyone on board abandoned the ship before it sank. The captain kept records of where he thought the shipwreck might be, and according to the team of scientists who found it, he was right. Once they were close to where they believed it was, they used an underwater search vehicle to locate it. This ship was so well preserved that the name etched across its stern is clearly visible in the footage. The extremely icy water is why it's in such good condition for its age. There is a forest in North Carolina that is home to the Yogi Bear graveyard. Yes, this Yogi Bear. Some say there's no explanation for these statues being here, but there's always an explanation. In the 1960s, the cartoon got so popular that the creators started a Yogi Bear restaurant to try and capitalize off the character's fame. The restaurants didn't do well at all, and most of them ended up closing. And this left the owners with a whole lot of statues of Yogi the Bear and other characters from the show. And instead of sending them all to a dump, the company seemed to just dispose of them in a forest. And this area very quickly became known as the Yogi Bear Graveyard. On a side note, if you ever want to try the Yogi Bear restaurant, there's one left in operation. There is a fort.
Hey, country fan.
This is Norman.
We have Norman.
Norman was created about 18 years ago to star in a music video for the band Interpol. Now, for some reason, people loved him. But unfortunately, Norman went missing for 10 years. In 2014, an auction was listed on iCollector.com under the title Animatronic Creepy Ghoul Puppet from Music Video. And lo and behold, after 10 years, Norman had reappeared. And he looked terrible. Despite having a loyal fan base, no one purchased him, and he went missing again for another 5 years until a YouTuber managed to track him down and buy him.
We have Norman.
This is Norman.
We have Norman.
This is proof that your devices are always listening to you. Have you ever had a conversation about a product and then you started seeing ads for it everywhere? Now, these big tech companies claim they don't listen, but a YouTuber by the name of Michelo proved otherwise in a live stream a few years ago. He held up a piece of paper with a subject he had not talked about yet. He visited a few websites to see what ads they were currently showing.
And here we have a breast cancer ad, is that right?
He closed everything on his computer and started talking about the subject.
Alright, so dog toys. Maybe some dog toys near me. Affordable dog toys, that'd be really good for me.
He went back to the same websites he visited before, and lo and behold...
Oh my god! It's right there! Dog toy ads, again!
He also received an ad for Ford.
Affordable dog toys, that'd be really good for me. Most affordable.
It makes you wonder. This is proof. There are human remains all over Disney World. Multiple people have confessed to spreading their loved ones' ashes all over the parks.
She had told us she wanted them on the front lawn of the Disney castle.
This has become such a common occurrence that Disney has a special radio code they use when they discover human ashes.
You know, this is what would have made my mom, what she would have wanted.
There are human remains.
You're him.
This is an abandoned aquarium. A pair of urban explorers took this eerie footage when they broke into an unnamed aquarium in Spain. They found a decomposed squid and octopus inside shattered glass jars. They also found starfish that didn't decay like the other animals. The most appalling find was the remains of a reef shark inside a broken display case. The shark was likely treated beforehand, which gave it a zombie-like appearance when it started to finally decay. This is Have you ever wondered how this trick is done? It's one of those things where you know it has something to do with his cane, yet it's still confusing to look at. Well, it turns out that the simplest explanation is the right one. There's a YouTube video of one of these magicians getting ready for this illusion, and from what we can tell, there's a metal base that's connected to a metal pole, which is connected to a seat. The illusionist wears thick clothing, and the entire structure is covered by some kind of cloth, revealing what looks like only a cane. Have you ever wondered how this trick is done? It's one of those things. Have you ever wondered how this magic trick was done? You know it probably has something to do with his arm touching the bus, but it's still confusing to look at. Well, it turns out that the simplest explanation is the right one. The secret is pretty straightforward when you start to notice that his right arm never moves, like not even his fingers move. You can also notice the bump in the front of his shirt, which is his actual right arm. The one attached to the bus is actually a metal rod connected to a harness that he sits in. Have you ever wondered how this
Tanguk. Alright, we're doing the Italian brain rot filter. Gianni Bananini? Okay, that worked well.
This is Rosie the shark. In 1997, Rosie got so badly tangled in fishing nets that the fishermen decided to humanely kill her. A wildlife park in Australia ended up purchasing the dead shark to make her the central display in their museum. The park ended up closing down and the facilities became abandoned. For 7 years, the shark was left alone. In 2019, another park decided to buy her, and with a major group effort, they successfully lifted Rosie and transported her to her new home. This is Rosie. How did David Blaine bite this quarter in half? Well, if you thought it had something to do with the actual quarter, you'd be right. Some people think he swaps the coin out in the middle of the trick, and others think it has something to do with the metal. But he actually uses a gimmick coin to perform this trick. It's made up of 2 parts, held together by an elastic band. And once you see how it works, this trick becomes a little less impressive. How did David Blaine bite this quarter in half? Do you notice something weird about how Putin walks? He swings his left arm freely, but his right arm seems like it's stuck to his side. Some people have speculated that because this is a sign of early Parkinson's, Putin might be at risk. But the real reason he walks this way has nothing to do with his health. Putin was a KGB officer for 16 years, and in the KGB manual, it spells out the specific way officers should walk so they can always be prepared to handle their weapons. This style of walking perfectly describes the way Putin walks today. Other long-term KGB officers also seem to walk the same way.
Yeah, let me get a large...
Do you know what happens when you land on free parking in Monopoly? You win the jackpot in the middle of the board, right? Wrong. I'm willing to bet you have no idea what the rules actually say about free parking. In fact, Hasbro has come out and stated that they get hundreds of calls about this very rule every year. So what is it? What happens when you land on free parking? The answer is nothing. Have you ever wondered how David Blaine levitated? Well, I have the answer, and it's not what you would expect. David Blaine is performing the Balducci levitation. In order to pull this off, your audience has to be watching the trick from the perfect angle. That's why in this shot, you can see some people freaking out, and others who aren't viewing it from the right angle, they aren't as impressed. It's also why the camera never shows his feet during these specific shots. But hold on, what's going on here? In these shots, he's straight up flying. Well, I know what he's doing here as well. And in part 2 of this video that I'm posting tomorrow, I'll give you the answer. So how the heck did David Blaine levitate? In part 1, I showed you that he was performing the Balducci levitation. But what's going on here? This and this are not the same thing. Well, look closely at this clip. He stands at an angle about 4 feet away from the audience. But when he actually levitates, he's no longer at an angle, and he's a good 20 feet away. In this clip, notice how the sun is spilling all over the road. But when he levitates just 4 seconds later, the sunlight is gone. These are called pickup shots, and they're filmed at a different time than the rest of the video. David Blaine performed the Balducci levitation the entire time, but later, he and his producers went back to the same location, rigged up some kind of wire lift, found some extras, and made you believe that this man was flying. What happened to Ronald McDonald? It seems like not too long ago, this guy was everywhere, and now we hardly see him. This is the first interpretation of Ronald McDonald, and it was directly inspired by Bozo the Clown. At the time, clowns were very popular, which is why McDonald's chose one as the face of the company. But over the next few decades, clowns started to lose their popularity as children's entertainment. It was the Clownpocalypse of 2016 that really hurt the reputation of Ronald McDonald. The company announced that he would be taking a break from the limelight, although they claim he's still working behind the scenes. As long as they don't bring this guy back, I think we'll be okay. This is what Stitch looks like in Disney World, and I'm gonna explain to you why this terrifying thing exists. In 2002, the film was such a success that Disney rushed its entrance into the park. The attraction was called Stitch's Great Escape, and it featured a 39-inch Stitch animatronic that at the time was the most complex animatronic in the world. But unfortunately for Disney, Stitch's Great Escape was a major flop. It was eventually called the worst attraction that Disney had ever made. In 2016, the company said that the attraction would enter a seasonal operation and be temporarily closed. But then these photos leaked online, making us think that this attraction might be gone for good. Have you ever wondered how this trick is done? Well, if you thought it had something to do with the actual phone, you'd be wrong. Notice how you never see this trick performed with the phone screen off. That's because the secret lies in this transparent piece of plastic. It's carefully placed over the phone, and the scarf is guided through it. The scarf is actually wrapped around the bottom of the phone, and when it's pulled at an upward angle, the result makes you ask the question, have you ever wondered, why does this animatronic Ronald McDonald exist? This clown is creepy enough as it is, but for some reason, a few of the restaurants decided it would be a good idea to install animatronics in their dining areas. Now, believe it or not, 20 years ago, creepy stuff like this was kind of popular. But even then, these animatronics ended up scaring away customers. People started avoiding the restaurants who decided to have them installed. It makes you wonder, why does this animatronic Ronald McDonald exist? This clown is creepy enough as it is, but have you ever wondered how this magic trick was done? It kind of looks like this trick, except we actually see the magician walking around beforehand. So the explanation can't be an elaborate hidden mechanism underneath his clothing, right? Wrong. This magician sticks his cane into a metal base hidden underneath the rug. The cane then connects to a rod that goes up his sleeve and is attached to a back brace. This back brace is fixed to a harness which allows the magician to use his core strength to lift his legs. Watch the trick again and see if you can notice. Have you ever wondered how this magic trick was done? There is something creepy about the Starbucks logo. This is the original artwork. Now, most people assume it's a mermaid, but it's actually called a siren. Mermaids are peaceful creatures, but sirens are violent. They used their beauty to seduce sailors to come with them in the water. In earlier logos, the siren's chest was bare and her split tail was spread open. This depiction was not by accident. Over the years, the company has distanced itself from the old logo, but you can still make out what the original intention was. If you look closely, you'll see that there is something creepy about the Starbucks